Hi, I'm Rod Saunders from Jew and Greek, and this is Musical Monday. Today I want to tell you a little bit about my history of playing weddings and restaurants. As a classical fingerstyle guitarist, you don't have the options that like a rock guitarist would have, where you play in a lot of clubs and stuff. Your venues are going to be civic centers, churches, weddings, private parties, corporate functions, and restaurants, maybe coffee houses, because you're not doing the style of music that fits in to large arenas or nightclubs. So naturally, over the years, over about a 35-year period, I did a lot of weddings. My first wedding was back in 1980. A lady from my church had been requested to sing at a wedding, and she needed a guitarist to accompany her. So she invited me to that gig, and that was my first wedding. And back then, I didn't sing; I just played. And I was kind of excited, that I had a chance to do a real paying gig. And then I moved to Dallas, and a guy from my church found out that I was a fingerstyle guitarist, and he invited me to play for his wedding. And it was an outdoor wedding in Dallas in the summertime. It was 100 degrees outside, and I had a three-piece suit on, and I was sweating like crazy. But I was happy to be playing another gig. That was the first wedding where I ever sang, and I sang Paul Stuckey's song, There Is Love, or the wedding song. And they were real happy with my performance, and I was happy with the fact that I got paid again to do a wedding. And then I moved to Tulsa, and I went to Rhema, and I didn't do any weddings for a long time because I was in school and I was working other jobs, not really marketing myself as a musician or as a wedding musician. But then I started to get offers later on. I lived in Florida for a while and did a wedding out there. Really nice wedding for a rich lady. And sometimes I go to these weddings and I think, man, you dropped a lot of money on this wedding, $30,000-$40,000. By the way, that marriage didn't last. And I've often wondered over the years as I've sat in weddings, and I look at all the places just decked out. I know they dropped at least $20,000, maybe $30,000 or $40,000 on the wedding, and I'm wondering, how long is this going to last? I mean, I think about Kim Kardashian's, I think it was her second marriage to the basketball player, Chris Humphries. They spent $10 million on that wedding, and the marriage lasted about 10 weeks. So that's $1 million a week. Think about that. But anyway, yeah, a lot of times I sat there in the wedding and I thought, good luck. I hope you get a good return on your investment here because you're spending a lot of money on this wedding. But hey, they were paying me. But the thing is, sometimes they'll spend like $10,000-$20,000 on the catering, and then they want to negotiate with me $50 down on my fee. And I'm thinking, all the money you're spending on this, and you can't pay me $300. You want to pay me $200 instead, because I put a lot of time into this. To play on the level I was playing back then, you got to practice an hour or two a day, and you got to learn a lot of repertoire. You got to be able to do all the stuff that they expect you to do at weddings. The wedding march, Bach, Beethoven, Pachelbel's canon. You got to do all that stuff. And then they don't want to pay you much. There was this one wedding that I did that the lady called me or emailed me, can't remember now, but she said we were going to have a classical guitarist play at our wedding, but he can't make it, and the wedding is next Saturday. Can you schedule us for next Saturday? Can you do our wedding? And I said, well, yeah, I guess. Now, the wedding was in Stillwater, which is, I don't know, about 100 miles from Tulsa. It's a long way from Tulsa. It may not be 100 miles, but it's a pretty good drive. And I've never been to Stillwater before. So I said, well, I'm going to have to charge you extra for drive time. And she said, that's okay. I'm just happy you can do it. And she said, and they want you to play the Beatles song, All You Need Is Love. Can you do that? And I said, well, I can, but I don't know if I've got time to learn it. I don't have an arrangement ready, but I'll see if I can put it together. She said, oh, they really want that song. If you can do it, that'd be great. I said, well, I'm going to have to charge you extra for that too, because, I'm going to have to spend some time learning a new tune to do for the wedding. That's not standard wedding repertoire. She said, that's fine. So I shot her a fee, and she accepted it. I don't remember what I charged her, but it was a lot because it was travel time and there was a special request. So anyway, I got in my car and I drove all the way to Stillwater. She gave me the directions. Now, this was before Google Maps, okay? I'm following a street map, and I couldn't find the place. And I'm driving around and doing my best to follow her instructions, and I'm not finding the street. And I think it was supposed to be something like Magnolia Avenue instead of Magnolia Place, one of those kind of things. Anyway, I drove around for 10, 15 minutes, and I couldn't find the place. And so I stopped and called her. And I said, I'm in Stillwater, but I can't find the street. And she says, well, it's in the directions. I said, I'm doing my best to follow the directions, and I can't find it. And she said, well, where are you? And I told her, and she says, okay, well, you've gone too far. Turn around, go back 2 blocks, and then turn left. And then she gave me the directions, and I followed her oral directions, and I got there. But the thing was, by the time I got there, we were like 5 minutes from the time to start the ceremony, and I still had to change clothes and set my guitar and amp up. So we wound up starting about 5 minutes late because I couldn't find the place. So I did the song they requested me to do, and everybody was happy with it. And after the wedding, the mom of the bride that called me and asked me if I could do the wedding, she came up and she paid me, but she had an attitude because I got there late. And I said, well, I'm sorry. I've never been to Stillwater before. She says, well, I gave you directions. And I said, yeah, I know, but I was following the directions. I couldn't find the place. That's why I called you. She says, yeah, but you ended up being late. And I said, it was only 5 minutes late. And she just turned around and stomped off. And I thought, I went out of my way to accommodate these people because they were in a bind. They needed a guitar player. I learned the piece she wanted me to do. I scheduled it a week before the date. And then she cops an attitude with me because we started 5 minutes late. And then there was another wedding that I did in the Dallas area. And this was the last wedding I ever did. I told them my price, and I said, you give me a deposit, and then I'll schedule the date, and then you can pay me the balance after the wedding. That's the way I did all my wedding contracts. So I showed up. They gave me the deposit. I showed up. I did the wedding. And as I'm changing clothes and putting my amp and guitar away, I'm waiting for somebody to come up and pay me the balance. And the adults all left. And then I thought, okay, am I going to have to go and hunt somebody to get my money? And about that time, some teenage kid walks up with an envelope and says, here's your money. And so I opened it up and counted it, and it's $20 short. They shorted me $20. I can't get mad at him, because he's just the delivery boy. He doesn't know. And the adults are all gone. So I'm thinking, do I want to hunt these people down for $20? I said, no, I don't think so. But I don't want to do this anymore. I'm just tired of putting up with attitudes and people who don't want to pay you anything. Because when you figure out the time that you practice, your travel time, the money that you spend on your instrument, your lessons, your music stand, your amp, it's just not worth it. You're probably not making more than minimum wage when you really figure all that time. I did it because I enjoyed it and because people, appreciated it. A lot of people did, but Not all of them did. I guess I started off with the bad stories first because I've got a couple of good stories too. This one wedding, I was playing in a restaurant in the Tulsa area, and I took a break and was over by the bar, and this couple was standing there, and they said, "Oh, we really like your music. Can you do our wedding?" And I said, "Oh, I don't know. I guess I could. What do you want?" And she said, "Well, just a couple of tunes, really. We got other musicians to play, but what we really want, we want you to play Bryn Yar." And I said, "I don't know Bryn Yar. I've never heard of it." She says, "Yeah, it's a Led Zeppelin tune." And I thought, "You want Led Zeppelin at your wedding?" And she says, "Well, it's just an acoustic guitar piece." Now, see, I've never been into Led Zeppelin or Jimmy Page, so I didn't know. I'd never heard of Bryn Yar. And she says, "But it's just a solo acoustic guitar piece." And I said, "Well, yes, if it's a solo guitar piece, I can probably do it." But I said, "Tell you what, give me your contact information. Let me go home and research it. If I can find out how to play it, then we'll talk." And she says, "Great." So I went home and I found a recording of Bryn Yar that I could listen to, because a lot of times I can pick it up just by ear. But I also found out what the tuning was, because he used an alternate tuning on that piece. So I had to know the tuning in order to be able to play it. And then I found the tablature for it. Tablature is like standard notation only for guitar players. Instead of giving you play G, A, B, it just says play this string on this fret, this string on this fret, this string on this fret, which really is all you need as a guitar player for most music. So I had everything that I needed, and I sat down and messed with it for about a half an hour. I said, "Yeah, I think I can do this." So I contacted her, and I gave her a price, and she accepted it. So I showed up at the wedding, and I did it. Now, you have to understand, they spent a lot of money on this wedding. And they had other musicians that played, but that was the one thing that was really going to make the wedding, according to her, was somebody to play Bryn Yar, because she and her husband both loved Led Zeppelin. They loved that piece. So when they got to that point in the wedding, I don't know if it was when they exchanged rings or vows or what. Anyway, I knew where I was supposed to start playing, and I played Bryn Yar. And she came up to me after the wedding and hugged me. She says, "Oh, thank you so much. That was great. You were perfect." And all I could think was, okay, I guess she didn't hear me mess up, because I did. I messed up part of the piece. It's one of those pieces where if you mess up, you can just kind of start it over again and just keep playing until you get to the point where you messed up, and then, move on from there. But I was nervous because I knew I had messed it up, and I didn't know how close they were listening, but apparently she was very happy with the job that I did. That was the strangest request that I ever had for a special request for a wedding. And but the best memory that I have of all the weddings that I did, it was right here in Tulsa, not too far away from where I lived. They had rented a chapel building for their wedding. And so I showed up at the chapel. And I always do this. I always show up with a pullover shirt or something, because I don't want to be hauling my gear around in the heat and sweat in my tux, So I put just a work shirt on, and then I set everything up, and then I go in the restroom and I put on my tux shirt and bow tie and my tux jacket. So I'm in the restroom getting changed, getting ready for the ceremony to start, and the groom is in there. And he's trying to get his tie on. Now, this is a special fancy tie, and he had no experience with it, so somebody was helping him get his tie and his shirt put together, and then he put his jacket on. He was getting real frustrated with it because it wasn't a clip-on or a regular tie. It was one of those special deals that you only have to do it once or twice in your life, But he saw me in there, and we chatted for a minute, and I told him congratulations. He says, yeah, well, thanks, and thanks for playing. And he said, I've heard you play, and I know you're good, so I'm happy that you were able to make it. And he was real nice, you know. So I went in there, and I played for the wedding. And during the ceremony, where I'm sitting, there, between the couple and me is the bridesmaids. And I can't really see very well what's going on. I got the worst seat in the house because I'm behind the bridesmaids and I'm sitting down. But I'm trying to watch what's happening, you know, and I saw the ring dropped. He was trying to put the ring on her, and he dropped the ring. And I thought, oh no, he dropped the ring. That's embarrassing, you know. Well, then he bent over to pick up the ring, and I really couldn't make out what was happening. But when he did that, I heard in the crowd, I heard all these gasps and giggles and people talking. And everybody was making noise and pointing and laughing. And I thought, what in the world happened? I never did know what happened until after the ceremony. And he says, Mr. and Mrs. So-and-so, and everybody claps, and they left. And then the ceremony was over. So I go up to the preacher and shook hands with him. And he says, oh, thanks for playing. You did a good job. I said, thanks. By the way, what happened? And he said, oh, when he bent over. Now, this guy, I forgot, I left this part out. The groom was overweight. He's probably about 5'10" and weighed close to 300 pounds. And it might have been one of the reasons he was having trouble with his tie and the shirt is because he had a big neck. I don't know. Anyway, the guy was overweight, and he was in a special rented tux. Well, when he bent over to pick up the ring, his pants fell down, and he was mooning the crowd. Not a full moon, you know, he had his bloomers on, but I'm just saying his pants fell down in front of the whole crowd in the middle of the ceremony. And people didn't know whether to laugh or, you know, or just ignore it or what. But there was a lot of restrained laughter, but some people just couldn't restrain the laughter. Anyway, I didn't find out what happened until afterwards. And the preacher says, poor guy, he's probably humiliated. But see, this is why you have suspenders. Because if you're overweight, there's not a whole lot for your pants to cling to. If you're thinner, your pants can cling to your hips. But if you got a big belly, sometimes all you have to do is bend over and your pants fall down if you don't have suspenders. But anyway, I kept looking for that on America's Funniest Home Videos or YouTube, and I never saw it. Apparently, they never saw the humor in what happened. So they never put the video out there to share it with the rest of the world. But those are just a few of the experiences that I had over the years playing weddings. And I just decided that I didn't want to do it anymore because it just wasn't worth the time. And people didn't want to pay enough to make it worthwhile. But I've also quit playing restaurants and civic centers and all of that stuff too, just because I have a different focus. I might eventually start performing again. I don't know. It just depends on the situation. But I'm pretty sure weddings are out unless somebody really makes me an offer I can't refuse. And that's the problem that you have with weddings, is that people usually want to book the musicians last. They book the high dollar stuff first, and then when they get down to the musicians, they don't want to spend any money because they've already blown most of their budget. And, if you want a good musician, you get what you pay for. If you want to get somebody who's professional, who wears a tux and who knows the repertoire like me, you ought to pay a little bit more. If you want some guy who's going to college who doesn't know the material and he shows up in slacks and, just like a pullover shirt or something like that, which you will get sometimes if people don't know how to dress properly for the occasion. You can get guys cheaper, but if you want to get a professional, you need to pay what a professional charges. And I'm not complaining or anything. It was a season of my life. I went through it. I enjoyed it for the most part. There were some bad experiences, But overall, just felt like it's just not worth the time and effort that I have to put into it anymore. I have other things that I focus on now that I think are going to be much more fulfilling and much more enduring as far as their impact on people. And that's what I'm doing on this channel. But I still want to share stories like this from time to time. Someday I'll tell you a little bit about my experience with restaurants and coffee houses. That's also been pretty entertaining. But I'll save that for a future video. So thanks for watching, everybody, and we'll see you in the next Musical Monday. God bless.